What's up, oddballs? Welcome back to the Oddity Shop, the podcast where we bring you creepy, odd, weird, bizarre, and strange stories from around the globe. I am one of the two lovely curators, Zach, sitting here with the most fantastic curator, Kara.
Hello.
Good morning, Kara.
What the hell?
I know. Is there any better way, though, than to start our day with recording? Because at least we're starting it weird and with coffee.
Well, so I was kind of thinking that I was going to vote that I think we should record early.
I'm not upset about it. Usually we record late at night, but it is like
9 in the morning.
9 in the morning. We've both gotten a whole day done already because we knew we had to record at 9.
And now we have a whole day ahead of us to do whatever we want because we don't have to be back at a certain time to record tonight. So it's great. I love it. I'm voting for this.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. We just have to make sure we have 2 days off that are the same, which almost never happens.
No, I'm saying we get up at 6 a.m.
Oh, God, no. No.
Listen, official podcasters always be recording at like 7 a.m., 7:30. I'm like, damn.
I don't need to be official that bad. Oh, what's new with you, dude?
I've had a really bad week. So I lost my little fur sibling and I'm really going through it. So I have barely slept. So if you see extra baggage under my eyes, shut the fuck up. No, you didn't.
Okay, first of all, there's no extra baggage. You look amazing. And second, everyone, make sure you send Kara some love because...
And my parents.
And her parents, because losing a fur sibling is the worst thing ever. And we love you.
Hard. That's really hard. Okay.
I know. We won't linger on it. But... do you have anything good going on or just shit week? Is this the good part of the week?
This is the good part of the week. You know why? Because the week is done.
There you go.
And now I'm here recording this and I'm glad that we did it in the morning because now I have to start my day wonderful. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else for you. What do you have for me?
I had a very interesting week this week. So we all know that I don't handle blood well at all.
Oh, God. No, Zach doesn't. And I think people think you exaggerate. Or not exaggerate, but they just don't know the extent.
The extent of how squeamish I am. So I cut the webbing between my finger and my thumb, like a pointer finger and thumb. And I'm going to be honest, it's not nearly as bad as I thought it was at the beginning. But when I first saw it, I thought like I really split it and would have to go get stitches. So I did what any normal person would do and immediately... threw a Band-Aid on it so that I didn't have to see it, covered it with a rag and just held it there until I figured out what to do. So because I never looked at how bad it was, in my head, I made it way worse. So I went to rinse it and then my arm went cold and I went, okay, I need to get to my phone to call my roommate. And then I tried to go up the stairs to get my phone and the rest of my body went clammy and cold. And then I woke up at the bottom of the stairs because I fainted because of my own blood. And the cut is literally less than an inch big.
Remember it's always like those thin pieces of skin, though, that bleed like so much. So like it's hard to understand. Oh, shit. I forgot to tell you something, but let's finish this because it correlates. I can't believe I forgot to tell you this.
Uh-oh.
But anyway, I'm sitting at Starbucks researching and I get a random call from Zach. I'm like, that's strange because it's in the middle of the day and like we don't normally call each other in the middle of the day unless it's like an emergency.
Oh, this kind of was.
He's like, it was. I'm like, hey, are you okay? You're like, no. I'm like, okay, what's wrong? And he tells me, he's like, I passed out. I fell down the stairs to pass out. I just woke up. I'm like, what?
literally because I saw my own blood. So thankfully,
like, where's Julia?
Right before I called you, I called her. I'm like, hey, is there any chance you're coming home from work early today? She's like, yeah, I'm on my way home. I'm like, great, I need you. So I started telling her, and she's just like, yeah, I could use my first aid kit. Like,
yeah, she's actually excited, probably because she knew it wasn't even going to be that bad.
Oh my God, I love it. But yeah, so that was my week.
Yeah. So the thing that I had to tell you was obviously because my week has been so terrible, I didn't get to tell you. So that night we also had to record. So you were good to record because you were all bandaged up and you're all right. So we record pretty late and we ended pretty late with recording. Yeah. And so I jumped in the shower and I'm in the shower. You and I have to stop. We have to fucking stop. I don't know how we can stop it, but we have to stop. I'm in the shower and all of a sudden, as soon as the water hits my right hand, right where you slammed your finger, it starts fucking burning. It is like on fire. Like I cut myself. Like, you know, when you get in the shower, first get in the shower and the cut hits the water. And I'm like looking at my hand everywhere. I'm like, I'm so fucking confused. And then it dawns on me, it's because you're a fucking idiot and you hurt yourself. And now I am suffering.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, right after we finished recording, I went and put an alcohol pad on it to really clean it out for the first time.
Ooh, maybe that's when.
It was pretty much the same time.
Oh, I hate you.
We gotta cut this psychic connection. You know what we have to do? We have to open this damn shop up.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I have a question before you even ask. Are you ready?
Yeah. I'm not now. God, I didn't even have time to prepare. Yes, I can make myself ready.
All right. Let me give you a disclaimer before I ask you your question.
Okay.
The disclaimer is not about the question. You're probably at one point going to realize what we're talking about.
Okay.
Zip it. You and the listeners just dwell in it for a while, and then I'll ask you at a certain point if you know what we're talking about.
I will do my best to zip.
I know. I want us to all just like sit in the mystery.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
How do you feel about planes?
Okay. Well, there was a point in my life where I wanted to become a pilot and I really liked them. But also sometimes if I think about planes too much when I'm on planes, I remember that I'm thousands of feet off the ground and then I get that little pit in my stomach. But for the most part, I really, really like planes.
Okay. My next was going to be like, have you ever been afraid of flying?
Like, I know planes don't just fall out of the sky.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's more every time it's always on the takeoff. I always just get like a little adrenaline rush. Like it's excitement to travel. It's that I'm out of control of whatever happens from here on out. Well, honestly, that happens the second you walk in an airport. Let's be for real. But
I hate that. It was probably about 6 years ago. We took a janky flight and I honestly was trying to, like, the entire part of the flight, I was trying to figure out how I could get a message to my mom, just telling her that I loved her because I swore we were going to die.
Oh,
like
God.
Aaron and I were like, I mean, like it was bad.
Where was that? Florida?
We were coming home. We were coming home from Florida because I remember by the time I got out of the airport and got in the car because my parents were picking me up, I had to lay in the back seat because I was so nauseous and still so nerved up because I truly thought I was going to die. And ever since then, I'm like you, like where you said, like, I'll be fine. And then I really start to think about the fact that we are in a plane in the air. And then I kind of start to spiral. So I just have to watch a movie or something and just like.
It's kind of like when you think too much about eggs.
Eggs are disgusting, but they're good.
You know what? I did have one recently where I thought I was going to die. It was when I went to Arizona and there was like that month where all the planes were falling out of the sky.
That's right.
And we go to land at Mesa Gateway, which is the tiniest airport in the world. And like, I'm always one who takes my airplane mode off early. And the person who's picked me up, I'm like, just landed. And then I go, JK, we literally got about 6 feet off the ground, pulled back up. The pilot never said anything. And then we went full altitude and did a loop and came back down. And I'm like, I don't want to know. So I was like, JK, I guess we're going back up. And then my service went away again. And she's like, is everything good?
You're like, no.
I have no idea, but I survived.
Okay. What about skydiving? Would you go?
I have always wanted to go. I honestly think, though, that when it got time to jump, either I would need to be pushed or there's a good part of me that would pull back. Because at the end of the day, I really hate heights.
And I don't think they'll push you. I think that's part of like the thing. If you don't willingly go, they don't go. But so Scott, a couple of summers back, I remember it all ready and it was like booked. And Aaron was like, I just really don't. He's like, I'm just not comfortable with you going. He's like, I'm just afraid something's going to happen. And I can respect that. And I was really afraid too, where I was like, do I really want to spend this much money to jump out of a fucking plane? All right. So according to Skydive California, though, the most recent data for the United States Parachute Association shows that the number of fatalities is actually 100,000 jumps. It's 0.51 fatality. That was in 2022.
Okay, so that's not bad. That's good odds.
If you translate it into like easier math,
thank you. I was trying. It's too early for head math.
It's one fatality for every 200,000 jumps. That's a lot of jumps.
I feel like that's surprisingly low.
I do too. And in 1961, it was 11.12 fatalities per 100,000 skydive jumps. So it's dramatically changed.
We've gotten better technology, apparently.
I was just going to say, so basically it's a testament to our technology. Okay.
Is that also because they now force you to do tandem? Because I feel like
maybe, I don't know.
Back in like the 70s when you used to go, they gave you like instructions and you went, and now you have like the jumper. What's up, oddballs? We've got a little surprise for you. Our first event is finally coming around. We are going to be doing a little event at the Haunted Eloise Asylum in Michigan. Kara, tell us about the details.
Okay, so the details are it is going to be April 19th, and it is going to start at 6 p.m. and go until midnight. And Zachary, what are we doing at Eloise?
We are bringing in the wonderful Lauren Haunts, where we're all going to build our own investigative equipment that we get to take home with us. And what are we doing from there?
Okay, so after the workshop that we have with Lauren and we build our equipment, we're going to actually go use our own equipment that we just built, and we're going to investigate Eloise.
So we hope you all can make it. Tickets are going to be very limited. We're holding it for 20 people max. The link is down below. And Kara, let's wrap this up.
Well, we hope to see you there, and we hope you creep real, you little eyeballs.
Goodbye.
Bye. All right, so going back to like a regular flight for a little bit, would you ever be a flight attendant?
I've thought about it, but I get way too dehydrated and my ears bother me too much that I would always be uncomfortable.
I think you'd get used to it eventually, but it would be awful. Yeah. And this is what I always think about. They have so much responsibility. So they have the safety and the security, but they're also customer service. They have to manage the cabin. They have to have like really great communication skills because you have to be able to talk to passengers in a different way that you'd be able to communicate with the pilot and the co-pilot and things like that. So it's just like the list goes on. I don't know if I would
And you never sleep in your own bed.
Ew. I always look to them, though, if I'm uncomfortable. I look to the flight attendants like to see if they're panicking anyway, because then I know if I should be or shouldn't be. Okay, so you know how you always get that little demonstration from your flight attendants, and during that, they're like, hey, in case of emergency, this is what you do and what you don't do. And then they talk about those emergency exit seats. And this is a little bit of a rant, but the thought of like having the pressure of sitting there gives me a lot of anxiety, but nobody ever says no. Like they're like, hey, are you good to help and assist everybody if needed? And everybody always says, yeah, because they don't want to give up that extra leg space. But you know damn well they're not going to help and assist. I don't believe that every single flight between you and me. Have you ever had somebody say no?
No, but
exactly.
I'm also that same person because I want that leg room. Okay.
Well, let me just tell you something. And again, this is kind of a little side rant, but I want all you little shits like Zachary to remember this. You actually can be liable.
I mean, I would probably stand up and help, but
I think you'd pass out.
I have no argument to stand on here.
So, all right. So really quick, though, the factors affecting the liability is if it's good faith and effort. So if you're a passenger and you attempt to fulfill your duties, but you're just unable to because of circumstances beyond your control, then you're not going to be held liable. If it's like negligence, like a passenger could be held liable because their actions or inaction directly cause injuries or damages during the evacuation, you could be held liable.
Okay.
Or the passenger has the duty to assist to the extent possible. And if they fail to do so, you could be found liable. So if for whatever reason something happens, you guys all survive, but you were negligent in agreeing to sit there, y'all could be held reliable. So like I said, that's just a little rant, but I wanted you to know the responsibility. Reliable. Little bitches. What'd I say?
Held reliable? I think it would be the opposite. Liable.
Liable. Shut up. You're still reliable for my life.
Okay.
Right?
I'll let that slide.
All right. Anyway.
All right.
I'm going to talk about two flight attendants, Tina Mucklow and Florence Schaefer.
Okay.
Zach's trying so hard to see if he knows this already.
The name of the Tina sticks out to me, but I'm not there yet.
You're probably just thinking of Napoleon Dynamite.
No.
Tina. All right. It doesn't matter. Stop guessing.
Okay.
All right. So the flight we're working for, or the flight that they were working for, is Northwest Orient Airlines. And it was flight 305. And if you wanted to know, it was a Boeing 727-100.
Why is it always a Boeing? Damn it.
So the flight contained 36 passengers and a total of 6 crew members, which included Tina and Florence.
Okay.
And on the eve of Thanksgiving 1971, Flight 305 was leaving Portland International Airport, heading to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport.
SeaTac.
I realize I have buttons on my vest. I'm trying very hard not to hit them. Sorry, guys. All right. So like a lot of stories, there are different accounts and some details change. With that being said, I'm going to do my best to give you all the information that I can. But we've got different, perspectives from a lot of different people.
Look at you sounding your own words out in the morning.
It's because I have coffee right next to me. So Flight 305 departed on time at 2:50 p.m. Now it's either shortly after taking off or somewhere around 3-ish when the plane, like after the plane was taking off. So these are those small details that it's like, I don't know if it matters, but I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
A passenger in 18E gave a note to Florence. Now, some accounts say that her and Tina were getting passengers drinks, which would mean that they were well into the air because you don't start serving drinks until...
Yeah, you have to be at altitude.
Again, I don't know. But they were serving drinks. The passenger in 18E ordered a bourbon and a soda before giving Tina the note.
Bourbon on a flight is my kind of guy or girl.
She either looked at it right away or she took it. It's again, but either way, she either put it in her purse thinking that it was like a lonely businessman giving her number because apparently that had happened. So if we go with that story with her putting it in her purse, the passenger then whispered to her, "Miss, you better look at the note. I have a bomb."
Oh.
I don't know if she put it in her purse and he said that after he handed it to her and she didn't look right away. Either way, that's what this passenger is quoted telling her.
I feel like, okay, it kind of, I don't want to give the criminal any credence here, but I would be so, like, if he planned this whole thing out and was like, I'm going to give her the note, and then he still has to say it audibly, like, defeating the purpose of the note.
Well, I think it's because she didn't actually...
his plan is already falling apart.
I think that she didn't look at it right away.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he planned the whole thing out for her to look at it right away, then still has to audibly say it.
Now, either way, I think that this plane had to have been in the air for some time because you wouldn't hand a note stating that if you were still taking off or shortly after, because they would just land the plane.
Yeah. Yeah, no, like the flight attendants can't even get up until...
Right. All right. So at this part in the flight, though, the ladies were supposed to be buckling into their jump seats. But Florence stood up and she sat next to the passenger in 18E. So Tina recounts in a Rolling Stone article, this is her quote, "This was not the normal procedure because at this point, we're almost lifting off the runway." See, this is why it's like it's very wishy-washy because
you know what,
Tina says different things than Florence says. So it's hard to determine.
If you're in first class, though, you also get service on the ground still.
He's all the way in the last row. He's 18E. It's the last row. I know. I'm telling you, it was hard for me to actually pinpoint what was
then
going
again,
to be.
It was the 70s. Maybe everybody got
this
drinks
is also
before they
very
took
true.
off.
And I just put in here. So this is where I say much of the little details are different because of different accounts, Tina, Florence, whatever.
Gotcha.
So at this moment, again, thinking that this is very strange and not protocol, Tina sees Florence motion to her to pick up a piece of paper that she had dropped. So apparently Florence dropped this piece of paper on the ground and was kind of motioning to Tina, like, get your ass over here and look at it.
Gotcha.
So she reaches for this note and the note read, "Miss, I have a bomb here and I would like you to sit by me." So now Tina knows that Florence saw this note, is now sitting next to him because that's the instruction. And so she's like, I have goosebumps right now because like, what the hell?
Yeah. What do you do?
I don't know. Either way, whoever saw the note first or whatever, that was what it was. That's everybody collectively says that's what it says. It was written in neat, all capital letters.
I feel like at that point, my not fear of heights or plane or anything, but claustrophobia would set in.
Yeah, probably. I don't know what would happen to me, to be honest. I think I might get an adrenaline kick and be like, I don't know. I really don't.
Yeah.
So Tina calls Captain William A. Scott and explains what's happening. So she calls the cabin and was like, shit's gone down.
Quite literally.
Florence is still sitting next to 18E, as we'll kind of call him. And she kind of asked to see the bomb. I think probably because she wanted to know if this is real or not. But I'm sorry, if somebody showed me anything that remotely looked strange, I'd be like, yeah, that's a bomb. I don't know. So she is shown a briefcase with 2 rows of 4 red cylinders, which she assumed were dynamite. Attached to the cylinders were a wire and a large cylindrical cylindrical battery. Thank
There
you.
go.
Which also resembled a bomb. So she has no idea what the fuck this shit is. She's like, bomb, dynamite. I don't know, but this looks crazy. All right. So then she proceeds to write out his demands. So he requests $200,000 in a knapsack by 5 p.m. He wants 2 front parachutes, 2 back parachutes, and he wants the money in negotiable American currency. So with him requesting 2 sets of parachutes, it was implied that he is planning to take a hostage.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if I were fucking Tina writing all this shit out, I'm just going to assume... No, I'm sorry, Florence. If I'm Florence writing all this shit out, I would assume that I'm going to be this hostage.
Yeah. That second parachute's for you, girl.
But, this is obviously to discourage the authorities from supplying them with non-functional equipment, because if they think one of the passengers or flight attendants or crew is going to be harmed, they're not going to do that.
Absolutely.
Florence now takes the demands to the captain, while Tina then has to take the spot sitting next to him. That's why I keep getting confused. Okay. So now Florence is then instructed to just take mental notes of everything that is going on, like everything that she notices. So she comes back out and she's basically she's not sitting next to him anymore. Now Tina is, but she is told to just take a mental note. She's
told by the captain, or she's told by...
Captain. Mental note the shit out of everything that's happening. Keep everybody calm, but just whatever. And I'm sorry, I am losing my voice. Y'all, I apologize. So I'm the delusional though, because I think I would honestly just be like chilling with him and be like, what you want? Like, I'll make it happen. Like, he's my new bestie. And wherever we're going, I'm just going to still be your ride or die after. Like, what do you need from me?
Just keep bringing him bourbon until eventually he passes out and then you're good.
Maybe. Okay. So after informing the cockpit of the original demands, the hijacker adds some more details. So once landing at SeaTac, fuel trucks were to be met by at the plane, and all passengers were to remain seated while Tina brought the money aboard. He stated he would release the passengers after he gets the money. And then the last items brought on board would be the 4 parachutes. Now, I need you to remember that 36, well, now 35, because he's not really considered a passenger, are on this flight, and they have no idea any of this is happening.
Which also speaks to the intensity of a job of the
That's why
flight
I couldn't
attendants.
do it.
Yeah, because now all of a sudden you're bomb squad, and like if either of them show fear, that entire plane is devolving into chaos.
Right. All right. So Tina said, I can remember looking at the seat pocket in front of me and seeing that barf bag. Instead of reaching for it, I prayed for him, for his family, and for forgiveness for him too. And then I kind of let it go, and I felt at peace, and I just focused on what had to be done. So all these people are most likely flying to their families for Thanksgiving the next day.
Right.
And she's literally thinking of how she's responsible for all of those people if they don't make it. Like, that is what she's telling herself. Pressure. But that's what she's telling herself to just get through it. Like, if I just do this, then all of these people are going to get home safely. We've now made the Seattle Police Department aware, and the FBI of the hijacking.
Which is what they call the FBI in Grand Theft Auto.
That's funny. So the ransom was authorized and everyone was ordered to cooperate with the hijacker. This flight is only 30 minutes long.
That's what I was thinking. It's not a very far distance they're going.
So co-pilot Bill Radachek, I believe is how you say it, started blaming the flight delay on needing to burn fuel because of minor mechanical problems. Because they needed to delay the flight so that the ground could get all the demands and be collected for the time of arrival. Because, they're all afraid if we don't have everything by the time this plane lands, he's going to detonate the bomb. They don't know. So again, all of these people are freaking oblivious, which is mind-blowing to me. Okay, so as you can imagine, Tina is trying to keep her together. And so she starts kind of like chatting with him because she's like, okay, this man is playing God with like 40 people's lives right now, or over 40. I just need to keep him calm. I'm just going to start chatting with him. So she asks him why Northwest Airlines, and he chuckled and responded, it's not because I have a grudge against your airlines. It's just because I have a grudge.
Do you remember Northwest and Southwest? That used to be the best to fly.
Well, this was technically Northwest Orient. So I think it changed, but yeah.
I just remember as a kid, they had good food.
I would be pissed, though, if that was the answer that I got from him. Like, I need a little bit more than that, buddy. But again, I'm still going to be your bestie.
Yeah, I mean, at least I'd be like, well, at least you're not mad at, like, I don't know. I'd feel a little bit better because if the grudge was actually against the specific airline, I'd
That's
be a lot more
true.
fearful. Like if he's just pissed at the world, then, you know.
Yeah. All right. So he kind of kept chatting, even telling her that, you know, she was telling him where she's from, where she lives. And he even told her like it's a very nice place where she lives. So in return, Tina asked like where he was from, and he kind of became upset and refused to answer, obviously, because that's like an identifying factor to him.
Right.
So I get it. He asked her if she smoked and offered her a cigarette. She informed him that she does not. She quit, but she's still accepted. But she's still accepted.
Wild that you used to be able to smoke on a pressurized airplane.
Here's the thing. You're hijacking a plane. Even he probably would try to smoke regardless. But
I mean, in the 70s, they had ashtrays at your seat in the planes.
All right. So now we've been circling over Seattle for some time, like burning fuel, roughly 2 hours to be exact.
God.
So obviously passengers are getting frustrated because this 30-minute flight is now, you know, like 2 hours.
4 times as long.
And they don't really know what's happening. So George Labossonniere, I believe, stated that he visited the restroom that was behind Tina and the hijacker multiple times. He clearly had bladder issues. He said that during one visit, a passenger with a cowboy hat was stopped in the walkway talking to Tina and asking her questions about the delay and the mechanical issues. And George stated that the man that was sitting next to her seemed amused at first, but then got really annoyed at all the questioning and eventually persuaded the man with the cowboy hat to sit back down. Tina remembers it a little differently, which everybody, I don't know, because she's so high strung and she knows what's happening. I can see your memory being either like really on point or just all over the place.
Right.
She remembers this interaction as the man in the hat asked for something to read, like a magazine, because he was getting really bored and he wanted something to pass the time. So she proceeded to look through some that were kind of sitting behind that chair, like in her little area or whatever. So him and the guy with the cowboy hat started to kind of like filter through. I think they found like a Time magazine. He settled on that. And then after he picked out the magazine, the hijacker said to her, like he threatened, if that is a Sky Marshal, I don't want any more of that. Because he was thinking that this was kind of like some sort of like setup.
Oh, yeah. Which to me, why would he have like told this person to sit down? Because I feel like that if you start to like one passenger demand what another passenger does in a place where everyone's already tense, like that could devolve so quickly.
It could, but I don't know if it was like aggressively said that or if he was just like persuaded him like, hey man, it's going to be okay. Just like have a seat type of deal. I don't know. It wasn't really said. So on the ground, FBI is collecting whatever Seattle banks, like from whatever banks they can, and they got 10,000 unmarked $20 bills.
I mean, it takes time to get the money together. All right.
Now, just because they aren't marked doesn't mean that the FBI didn't take some sort of precautions. So the bills were photographed to have the record of all the serial numbers. So they did have all that. So that also took a lot of time because that is a lot of damn bills. $10,000, $20 bills you're taking pictures of.
And there ain't no digital cameras back then.
Right. So while that was being collected, the Seattle Police Department was able to collect 2 front parachutes from a skydiving school and 2 back ones from a local stunt pilot.
What are front parachutes? Like you wear it literally on the front of your body?
I think there's different types. I'm going to be completely honest with you. There's so much details in this that I didn't even have time to look at that shit. Y'all can tell me in the comments. So around 5:24, the message that the money and the parachutes were waiting, and the hijacker was informed that they were preparing to land. So now we're already behind schedule because he wanted it all by 5, but it ain't happening, bitch. So at 5:46, Flight 305 landed at SeaTac. 18E gave permission on where to park, and he wanted it away from the main terminal, and he also demanded that only one representative be chosen to approach the plane. The front door to the plane was to be the only entrance and exit. So Al Lee was chosen to be the one delivering the money and the parachutes, and he was a Northwest Seattle operations manager. And I found this part really surreal to me because he obviously just came to work that day. So he had his airline uniform on, and they actually made him change into like street clothes because they wanted it to be less likely of the potential to be mistaken for law enforcement when he walked up to the plane.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because a lot of times like the airport uniforms
they kind of look
really
the
official.
Same. Yeah. So I just thought it was so like I got goosebumps because I'm like, can you imagine you just went to work one day just to do your normal shit and then this is what you're having to deal with?
No, thanks. I'm good.
So Tina collected the money from Al and then she walked it all the way down the aisle through all the passengers and she handed it to the hijacker.
What do the passengers think at this point? Because that now parking far away, like they have to know something's going on.
They literally just... I looked and nobody knew until after everybody was off the plane that any sort of anything happened.
Wow.
And really that's just because when they got off the plane, they were all rushed by officials, reporters, because everyone on ground knew what was happening. At this point, he received the money. Like we just said, the passengers still don't know. He is kind of counting it and inspecting it for any tracking devices. And Tina's trying to make like nervous small talk, like kind of kiddingly asked for some of the money. And I think I would have done the goddamn same shit.
Oh, yeah. We would have been making sarcastic remarks the whole time.
Proceeded to hand her a packet of bills.
Oh, well, at least he's thoughtful.
That's what I thought. I don't think he's an asshole this entire time, to be completely honest. Like, he's giving her cigarettes. He's talking to her. I mean, I know he's hijacking a plane. He's not rude to anybody. He's not threatening passengers. Like,
listen, he had one agenda.
I know. She explains that it's against policy to accept tips. What a queen. But bitch, I'm taking it.
I would have taken it and been like, here, FBI, got you some back. Where's my cut?
Apparently, he had already tried to tip her and another attendant earlier, and they both said that they couldn't take it. He can't be that bad.
I feel like, though, if I was in the Tina or Florence's position, right, like that would give me so much peace to know, like, if we comply, things are going to go well, because, like,
he's trying to give me tips.
You wouldn't tip somebody if you're going to kill them.
No. Or maybe he would. I don't know.
Yeah, he could get it back real easy.
Exactly. Okay, so now all the passengers are off the plane. It's just the crew and the hijacker. Tina retrieves the parachutes from Al, which took her a couple trips because, you know, they're kind of heavy and she's, you know, whatever. At one point while Tina was collecting the parachutes, which took multiple trips, like I just said, she asked if she could get her purse. I'm not quite sure why. He responded with, I won't bite you. Basically like, yeah, go get your fucking purse. So another flight attendant asked if she could leave, and he allowed her and Florence to leave, saying, whatever you girls would like. They left Tina.
I mean, you know.
No.
If I was Tina, though, I would rather a couple, like everyone who can get to safety.
Okay, as we're feeling...
Listen, if I have the chance, I'm leaving you with the person with the bomb. All I'm saying.
Fuck you. I would never leave you.
I'd have to take care of Delilah.
Goodbye. Aaron would be here. As refueling was started, there ended up being like a delay. I don't know what the issue was, but there actually ended up being a real issue. Not even just because they were trying to delay this. There really was an issue with refueling. So I cannot imagine the crew, though, because they're just thinking, we just want to get up in this plane, go where the fuck we need to go and be done. And now we're having issues. Like, I want to get this unwanted adventure over.
Right.
So he ends up telling Tina that the money was brought in the incorrect bag and not a knapsack, because that's what he specifically asked for. So then he kind of was telling her that he had to, I have a hiccups from coffee, to improvise. And he had to cut open a canopy from one of the reserve parachutes, and he shoved the money into an empty parachute bag. So she kind of watched him do this, like she's whatever.
Oh, he wanted something secure.
So still trying to fuel the plane, the Federal Aviation Administration asked to have a face-to-face meeting with the hijacker, which he obviously fucking refused, prompting him to get upset. And then he was relaying the message to Tina, like, this shouldn't take so long. Let's get this show on the road. Like, he's starting to get irritated. Mm-hmm. It ended up taking 3 trucks to finally be able to properly fuel. And then once that happens, he gave his directives. So a southeast course toward Mexico City at the minimum airspeed possible without stalling the aircraft, approximately 100 knots altitude. He also specified the landing gear must remain deployed, the wing flaps must be lowered 15 degrees, and the cabin must remain unpressurized. So he was informed, though, that there would be a need to stop to refuel, and the crew and himself settled on Reno to be the stop. Additionally, he demanded to take off with the rear exit door opened and its air stair extended.
Okay.
So he was denied this due to safety concerns, and he snapped.
Creates so much drag.
So he snapped and said, "It can be done. Do it." However, he didn't really argue anymore. I think probably because he's just trying, like, let's get this going.
I could see the door being open, but how would you fly that plane with the stair out?
Well, I don't know. So he didn't argue anymore, and he just said he would lower the staircase when in the air.
Okay.
So again, he's like, fuck it, whatever. He's very easygoing.
Okay. If I'm going to be hijacked by anybody, I think I'd rather it be him. Yeah.
So flight 305 took off again at 7:40. So it is quite a delay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's way behind schedule.
So Tina was instructed to stay with him. And there were 3 jets that took off and followed the plane. Now, they followed very far behind. This was like no one kind of knew about it. Like he didn't. And they were to fly in like an S-shaped pattern as to not be in view of the plane, so that you would never, from the plane, you would never be able to see.
Right. They would always be like going the opposite direction.
Okay. After the plane took off, he instructed Tina to lower the staircase, or that's air stair, whatever.
Okay. See, now this is the worst thing he's asked Tina to do, because everything else is fine. Getting near the open door, no fucking thank you.
She hesitated because she was worried that she'd be sucked out the door. So it was suggested that she use an emergency rope from the cockpit to tie it around her waist and secure herself to a seat. He denied that because he didn't want her going to the cockpit. Like, he didn't want her talking to them. He didn't want her going up there. So then she was still very fearful and very hesitant. She asked if she could use one of the cords from the parachute to basically do the same thing and be like a secure line. And he told her he would just open it himself.
Good.
Again, he's just like very easygoing, like, all right, whatever.
He should have done that in the first place, and then she should have kicked his little booty.
So Tina was then told to go to the cockpit, close the curtains between coach and first class, and do not return. So before leaving, she begged him to take the bomb with him, and he told her it would either be disarmed or he would take it with him. So as she turned to close the curtain, so she's walking down the aisle, she kind of turns to close the curtain. This is when she sees him tying that parachute bag with the money around his waist. So he's just tying it around his waist and securing it. Tina entered the cockpit around 8 p.m. and the indicator light turned on, stating that stair, or that air stair, had been lowered. Okay. So over the intercom, they asked if any assistance was needed, and they received a no as a reply.
At least he's responsive.
I know. So now they're in a position that they can't see what's happening. They're not allowed to go out there and fear that something's going to happen. And honestly, they don't know what he has other than a bomb. So they're just stuck in there. They cannot see anything that's happening. They know that the indicator went off, that it's open, but they have no idea what's going on other than that.
At least, though, with all his actions so far, like, I wouldn't be too worried anymore.
I don't think I would. I mean, I would be nerved up, but I don't know I'd be as worried either.
Right.
So with the possibility he could still be on board, Tina informs him over the intercom that they were approaching Reno to refuel and they needed to raise that air stair. She repeats the message twice with no reply. Now, this is at 11:02. So at 8 o'clock is when the indicator light came on. Again, we have no idea what happened, but at 11:02, they managed to land with the stair thing still deployed.
That would be, I've never flown a plane. Well, actually, I did get to hold the controls of a plane once, but I can't imagine that's easy to do.
No. And honestly, I didn't even get into it, but there was a lot of issues like with it when that opened, the pressure through the whole thing changed. The plane lowered and dipped. Like, it was not a good ride. It was crazy, but they managed to safely land. FBI agents, state troopers, sheriff deputies, and Reno police surrounded the perimeter of the plane, but not wanting to enter in case he was still in there and the bomb gets detonated. So Captain Scott did a search of the cabin and concluded that the passenger, the money, and some parachutes were gone. And he searched for like 30 minutes. Like, he did a thorough search.
Yeah, just to make sure he didn't stow away.
Yep. And then the bomb squad then did an additional search, concluding the plane was safe. All right. So 18E had a legitimate ticket for this flight upon checking.
Mm-hmm.
And the name on the ticket read, and here's where I will let you guess.
D.B. Cooper.
Well, you'd be wrong because it was Dan Cooper.
Oh, come on. I was still right.
So as we find often in the press, they like to stick their nose into anything. And because this was all happening, that's no different in the case of hijacking of a plane full of passengers. So James Long, rushing to hit his deadline, reported the passenger in 18E was DB Cooper and it was Dan Cooper. So DB was an error.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I've always just thought that was initials.
I'm not entirely sure how that mistake happened because if you look at the ticket, it clearly says Dan, and FYI, tickets were handwritten then, but it clearly says Dan Cooper.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea that was an error.
So reporter Clyde Jabin from the United States Press International Wire Service actually reported, he published the error that was made by James, but it already went off on a, wildfire. So regardless of that,
the
hijacker's nickname then became, as we know,
Cooper.
The infamous DB Cooper, who I am so fascinated and absolutely in love with DB Cooper. I've wanted to cover this for a very long time.
I know. I'm surprised it took you this long.
I love him. Sorry, guys. All right. So having to take all avenues to try to locate the identity of the man that left from the plane, they started with the assumption that he did use his real name, Dan Cooper, which I think is crazy. That quickly eliminated clearing. They did find a Dan Cooper, but they eliminated it. He was good. Then they kind of went off on looking actually at DB Coopers, which doesn't make sense to me because that was an error in the reporting, but they did it anyway.
I mean, it's not like they had much else to go off of, so.
The more realistic thing would have been that this was like an alias or like maybe an anagram of his actual name.
Right.
But here's what we do know. Other than the snarky comments, DB Cooper was described as a quiet man. He was a white man, possibly in mid-40s. He was wearing
white man.
A white man. He was wearing a dark colored suit with a white shirt and a black tie. He also had a black raincoat and brown dress shoes.
I know that like in the 70s, flying attire, like you dressed up for flights. But if I'm planning to jump out of the plane, I don't think I'm wearing all that.
Appearance-wise, he had dark hair and brown eyes. So not really identifying characteristics, because that's pretty common. Here's what I found interesting, though. The clothes he's wearing doesn't stand out as someone that would jump out of a plane. Zach just had to interrupt.
Hey!
And he didn't have any additional bags of clothing or anything. However, when casually talking with him, Tina during the flight, he made comments of the area just from looking out the window and implying that he knew exactly where he was and all his surroundings. So he kept making comments like, oh, that's this, that's that. So he knew where he was.
Right.
Additionally, when bringing the parachutes to DB, as we'll call him, she gave him an instruction guide on how to use them, and he told her he would not be needing that. So he clearly knew.
He's so confident.
I know. I love it. So not knowing exactly when he jumped, it was somewhere between Seattle and Reno. That's really all we do know. Flight 305 didn't see any indication that the jets following never saw anything of the man flying, free falling out of the plane. Now, it was dark. It was cloudy. It's hard to see.
And
but
if
there
they're
was
trailing
no
behind,
indication.
it'd be so hard.
So 12 days later, the Air Force was approved to use a SR-71 Blackbird to retrace
my favorite
photograph the flight path. And overall, the Blackbird made 5 trips back and forth, attempting to find any indication of the jump, but nothing came up. And all the photographs were just because of the weather. They just weren't clear. So FBI agents did additional tests like recreating the cabin pressure and the flight path with even pushing a 200-pound sled out of the air stair just to kind of do a whole replay of what happened, what the flight crew felt and things like that to kind of get a better idea.
'Cause I guess you might feel him jump from the plane and they could almost pinpoint time sort of thing.
No, but they can indicate when from the flight path, when the plane went down, when the nose went down, when it had to go back up. So based on that and the time, they can kind of indicate, okay, so it opened here, pressure changed here. So they kind of had a timeline.
Right.
We're done with this stuff, but they kind of pathed out a timeline on where it actually would have been.
So they're narrowing down the where he could have possibly jumped.
Yes. So with all of that, it was better determined that DB most likely landed near the southernmost outreach of Mount St. Helens, located near Ariel, Washington. So now having a location, the FBI did door-to-door searches. They did it on farms. They did it in homes, largely forest terrain. They all did by foot and did a helicopter search from above. They did the works. So they even had patrol boats located in the local rivers and man-made lakes. They were, looking everywhere. Oregon Army National Guard did another repath of the flight plan, and they did find broken treetops and pieces of plastic and what could be parachute-like residue, but nothing relevant ever came up.
Okay. Yeah, I do remember that part.
Yeah. So once spring hit, a collection of 200 soldiers and volunteers, Army, everything, like all kinds of people, conducted another ground search, and nothing was found except for, sadly, a skeleton that ended up belonging to a missing teenage girl, Barbara Ann Deary, that was actually murdered.
That's
kidnapped and murdered like a week
terrible,
before.
but at least
they found her.
I was going to say, at least her family probably got some peace from it.
I know, it's really sad. So I could go on. I just gleeked everywhere. Hopefully you guys saw that.
Cute.
I could go on forever on the details of the search because it was extensive and all of the scientific things that go into it, but we don't have all day and we don't actually know what we're talking about. So it'd be pointless.
Technically, we do have all day. We already told everyone we started early.
But nothing was ever found, which is wild to me.
So crazy.
Nothing. The list of all the serial numbers that were stolen on those bills were distributed to banks, casinos, racetracks, pretty much everywhere. Rewards of like the money were offered to find if you found any of those serial numbers, all kinds of crazy stuff. And actually in 1973, the serial numbers were published again in the Oregon Journal, just as another like, hey, we'll give you some reward money if anybody has found this. In 2016, FBI announced active investigation of the Cooper case was suspended. And basically it was due to the fact that we've been doing this now for how many years? We need to put these resources.
What is that, 35, 45 years? Yeah. 45, yeah.
We need to put the resources somewhere else. And also, if he was still alive, he would be roughly 85 years old at that time. In 1980, though, an 8-year-old found $5,800 of the stolen bills while he was vacationing with his family in Vancouver, Washington. Crazy. Just found them.
Where was it?
It was like in a little river thing, like near that. There were around 80 suspects that they narrowed down.
Pretty extensive.
The prime suspect, though, was Richard Floyd McCoy Jr., due to him having been arrested for a similar hijacking just 5 months after, but getting caught. Down to the parachutes, everything. So it was kind of like one of those things where it's like, oh, that's,
Yeah. But see, also, maybe if I was planning, I would try to blame a cop or, like make it look like somebody else's MO so that they chased the wrong. What is that? The red herring fallacy?
Well, I think that this guy just saw that this guy got away with it and was like, I'm going to try it.
Yeah. Fair.
And he didn't get
fair enough.
But what I will say is his family is now claiming that it was him due to them finding a parachute in their house after he passed away.
Oh.
So there was some stuff on that, but there wasn't too much, or like investigation, but there wasn't too much reported about it. So I don't know, but we do have DNA. So this could end up being solved one day because we have the tie he was wearing because he took it off. You don't need a tie to jump, boo-boo.
No, you don't want that getting tangled on anything.
We do have multiple fingerprints. I mean, he had a drink. He sat there. I mean, they had hundreds of fingerprints from the entire plane that they took, but we have the cigarette butts.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even think about that.
They do have some hair samples. So this definitely could be solved one day. But I did want to read what our Redditors think. And so I have a few. Few Redditors. Okay. I think he lived, like 70% lived, 30% die. I lean more on the survive side because nothing was ever found except for that $5,800. Not a bit of parachute cords, a shoe, briefcase, etc. I also think he probably did lose some money in the jump. I do not think he buried it on purpose or any such, and certainly not to go back and retrieve it later. He had it and he earned it the hard way. I don't see him letting go of it for 2 seconds. I also don't believe in the government conspiracies like the FBI is covering it up or they instigated the hijacking. If they wanted to do that, they didn't need a guy to jump out of the back of a plane. They could have just had him hijack it regular-like and then protected him. I also don't believe 2 people were involved, mostly because I don't think 2 people can keep quiet. They turned on each other like Leopold and Leob. They turned on each other instantly.
I don't know the reference.
I don't either. Or I don't think it was Walt Recca. I believe the story there, because there's a whole theory there, but it made a story there is he made a call and shoved some money in his friend's pocket and said, now you're involved too, or something like that. That's like a whole other thing, but I don't think it's true. That's not the way conspiracies work. This is what this person says. If you have to.
Oh, this person's the expert on conspiracies.
I know.
All right.
I guess if his friend didn't turn him in at some point, it's because, some after the fact crime, but not by merely shoving evidence on you. Anyway, I apologize for my lengthy posts and my opinions, and I have probably gone too far, too long, or mistakes. I tend to think it's someone not on any of the suspect lists. Okay, so then this is another one. It's tempting to say he died since the case has gone so long and unsolved. But the jump was very survivable, and the suspected drop zone is close enough to residents for him to have hitched a ride home. Maybe he was very good at keeping a low profile after the crime, and it's highly likely he was any of the names. It was highly unlikely he was any of the names that is frequently suggested. Then somebody says, he opened a little B&B that was destroyed in Mount St. Helens. He lost his money and most of it, and he lived an unremarkable and lonely life thereafter. He was so unremarkable enough that no longer came up on the FBI's radar. And then that's
how I want to be remembered.
I know.
Not remarkable.
Not remarkable. So then somebody wrote, the money never hit circulation. That tells you everything. Unless he was just a thrill seeker who had no interest in spending the money, he died on impact, and either in the forest claimed him or he swept away with the current. They just miscalculated where he jumped from, explaining why some of the money was found in a different location than the search zone. What do you think? Or do you want to hear what I think first?
Oh, go first.
Okay. I 100% think he survived. Okay. He is definitely dead now because I think he'd be like 104, but I think he survived. I think, like he said to Tina, he had a grudge. And so I believe that we know who he is based on, I'm sure, something coming forward. But I think that I think he survived. I think that he just had to prove a point. And I think somebody in this case knows exactly who he is and knew the grudge that he was holding. Somebody knows. So I think it's a little bit of a cover up. I don't think he really wanted the money. I think it was just part of the circus act that he put everybody through. I think he most likely had clothing and supplies near where he jumped because he knew exactly where he was going. That's why he put them on a goose chase. Like, he knew when he was going to jump exactly where. He knew the surroundings. And then once landing, he just grabbed his little shit, whether he buried the money or took it with him, but he knew it was being tracked. If he knew all of this, he knew that money was going to be tracked. It's dumb to think that he didn't think that. So I don't think he was ever going to spend the money. So he either buried it or it's hiding somewhere. We're going to find it in a wall one year. But I think he just grabbed his little knapsack and his stuff, and he either just is so unremarkable that he went undetected, or he lived in the mountain off the land. And that's kind of what I think. What do you think?
Okay. I think that is the way that the story sounds like. It makes it way more interesting and more conspiracy based. But I have always just had a feeling that something went wrong in the jump and that he died. Because I just
But how have we not found anything?
I mean, look at how many people go missing. I don't know. It could have
nothing.
Except you found money in a river. I don't know. To me, like that.
But only almost $6,000 of it.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't think he survived that. I've never felt like it because there was never any evidence afterwards. Those bills didn't make it in circulation. Like, you would have at least a couple of them just to test it.
No.
See, I think he thought he was so smart that he could outplay anybody that I feel like he would have tested a couple of bills to see if they got tracked or not. I have never thought he survived it.
I don't think he was trying to outplay anybody other than just the circus act. That's why he's just so chill with everything. He knew his job in life is something to do where he knew protocols. He knew exactly that you could lower that staircase unpressurized and be safe. He knew that it could land without it. Like, he knew everything. He knew the flight, right? He knew where he was. He knew the area. He knew how to jump without needing instructions. Like, he knew what to ask for. I just don't think, I think he was super prepared. I think he had a grudge and somebody knows what that grudge is. We're just not coming forward with it. I think he survived. I think we probably do know who he is.
I'm excited for the update episode one day when this goes the way of Jack the Ripper, because well, there has to be. With everything going on with Ancestry, maybe we're going to find out a lot less stuff of DNA, because God only knows. Did you hear about that?
No.
Ancestry.com just went bankrupt, and everyone's saying that if you got your DNA results from them, delete it from their online database, because nobody has any idea who's going to buy it.
Why are you ruining my life? I just spent hundreds of dollars on there.
Did you do Ancestry or 23andMe?
You told me to do Ancestry. You, Mom, and somebody else told do Ancestry, not 23andMe. So
it might be 23andMe. Hold on.
It better be, because I literally just sent Aunt Pat's and I haven't even got hers back yet.
Okay. Don't freak out. It's 23andMe. You're fine.
Good.
Ancestry's fine. Okay, but if listeners, if your data's out on 23andMe, go and delete it from the online database, because you don't know who's going to buy it. Correction. But anyways, though, dude, nicely done. I love that story.
It's a lot of information. I know I was probably talking faster than I normally do, but I was trying to get through all of it so that we could have a good amount of like discussion.
Yeah.
But this is something that I love this so. I have had a fascination with D.B. Cooper forever. And if you guys ever watched...
Who do you think it is?
I don't know who it is. I just think it's somebody that just being so vague, like I have a grudge. If you had you don't just do all of that just because you have a vague grudge. Somebody knows who this is and somebody knows why he did that. This was to get attention, to let somebody know. Like
I don't think though, because they always try to contribute it to like other famous like cases and criminals and stuff. I don't think this was somebody else.
Oh, I don't either. If you ever watched Prison Break,
I never watched that show.
I'm going to rewatch it because I never finished it. Yeah, because what's his name is Wentworth Miller is so fucking hot and he's gay. Maybe you can get with him. Anyway, he's so hot.
He's gay. So you must be in love with him.
He's in a Mariah Carey music video too, FYI. But anyway, in Prison Break, there's a character, I can't remember his name, but it's alluded that he's D.B. Cooper and everybody asks him, like, are you D.B. Cooper? I never finished Prison Break, so I don't know if it ever came out that he was supposed to be D.B. Cooper. But that's another thing is that people think that he just got caught on another crime and he was actually in jail, like, or in prison. Like there's so many different theories that I couldn't even give them all to you, but he survived. And I think that he lived his life just chill. And the point that he had to get across was made to whoever it was supposed to go to.
I think he got squished like a bug.
I'm going to do a seance and talk to D.B. Cooper.
There you go. If you figure it out, let me know. Are you doing a seance or are you going to hit up Sam and do a Samance?
Oh, I'll do a Samance.
There you go. No, nicely done, dude. I can't believe that it took us almost 3 years to do that story, but thank you.
Yeah, I was like really pumped. I actually was up at 6:30 finishing it because I was adding more shit today.
I'm impressed.
All right. So this is a lengthy one, so we'll let you guys go. Obviously, I want a money bag and a plane for the emojis.
Perfect. Didn't even have to think about it.
And I don't even know when this episode is going up, so I'm not going to remind you of anything specific because I don't know when you're going to hear this, but
I'll remind you.
We love you.
Listener write-ins. We need like one more for a bonus episode. Hit me. So one of you guys has a story.
Hit me with your best shot.
You know what? If you don't have a story, at least hit us with your write-in of who you think D.B. Cooper was. Or
actually, no, can you call us and leave a detailed voicemail about who D.B. Cooper is?
There you go. Phone number's down in the show notes.
Yep. Thank you so much. My voice is, I can feel it being gone. I love you. I appreciate you. Zach loves and appreciates you. And the most important thing that you could ever do for us is to creep a really little oddballs.
And goodbye.
Bye.